Hey everyone, my name's Jeff Bordonia. I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia. This week I'm going to be talking to you about creating submixes in Reaper. Submix is basically the idea of grouping together individual tracks and treating them as one. And the reason for doing so is to gain more control over setting things like volume, panning, effects configurations, that sort of thing, in the same way across tracks. And in the case of effects, actually, it also helps with CPU performance since you're running one effect for your group of tracks instead of many effects for each. So I have Reaper open here with 3 tracks. Reaper has at least 2 ways of creating submixes, one through the idea of routing, and another through the idea of folders. With routing, we create a new track called a bus, and then send our other track signals to that bus. It's sort of similar to how it works on a physical mixing board. In Reaper, as opposed to many other DAWs, we don't actually create a new entity called a bus. We just can take any old new track that we create and treat it as a bus after we've created it. So let's create a new track with Command-T on Mac, and we'll creatively call it bus. Now, to send both our guitar and piano tracks to it, each has an I/O button next to it that we're going to right-click on. And in the send menu, we're going to send this signal to the track for bus, called bus. And then we also want to uncheck master send, so that it's only getting sent to the bus and not to the master mix. Otherwise, the signal will go through and you'll hear it twice. So we're going to do the same thing for the keyboard. Send. And then let's go ahead and play it to hear what it sounds like. And you can tell that that they're connected. If I change the volume here, it changes it for both those 2 tracks, but not for the drum track. And we can also do things like effects. So if I click that effects button, I'm going to add some basic color to our sound, just to give it a nice crunch sort of sound to it. And I'm going to do that for both, just for the bus here, and not for the individual tracks at all. And so when I go ahead and play this, you'll hear that that's a nice crunch sound for just the piano and just the guitar, and not for the drums. So another cool way to do submixes is to use folders. So instead of doing sends and receives between tracks, we create a new parent track or folder, and then make the individual tracks subtracks of that parent. This is a bit more organized and has the additional benefit of not needing to manually turn off that send to master option for each of those tracks, like we did before. That kind of happens automatically. So let's just reuse that bus track, but let's first just kind of get our other tracks back to what they were before. So let's click master send, undo the send for both of these, master send, undo the send for the guitar. Alright, and now what we want to do to make this bus track a folder is just drag it above those 2 other tracks, and then there's this little folder icon in the bottom right, and clicking on that, you can see it just indented the guitar and the piano tracks underneath of it. So, and you can also see a kind of grayed out waveform for that bus track. So now if we go ahead and play it, we should be able to hear that effect just like we did before for the bus. And we can adjust the volume just like we did before as well. Everything's connected. We can also toggle the effect on or off too. So at any point with this folder structure, what we can do is we can drag any of these tracks out into their own thing to be their own again, or we can just click on that track is folder little icon again on that parent, and remove everything, so it's all flat one more time, the structure. And now it's back to the way it was before. So anyways, that's all she wrote. I'm still new to Reaper, so I imagine there's a lot more details, but I hope this gets you started. Thanks a lot for listening.